All right. What is up, y'all? Will here with Schedulefly, and this is the Restaurant Owners Uncorked podcast brought to you by us here at Schedulefly. Super simple, web-based restaurant employee scheduling software backed by legendary customer service and all at a low price point. We have never raised our prices since we started almost 19 years ago. Not saying we never will, but we haven't. So simple, great service, and very affordable in today's market where costs keep going up everywhere. 30-day free trial. Check us out, schedulefly.com. You can try it anytime. Simple monthly pricing, no add-ons, upsells, cross-sells. We're just a small team. We take great care of our customers, and that's kind of our whole business. My personal cell phone is on our website at schedulefly.com on like 3 pages. And you can call me or text me anytime, and you will get me on my flip phone, and I will be more than happy to share anything about Schedulefly you'd like to know. That's it. So schedulefly.com, give us a shot. Let's move into the Restaurant Owners Uncorked podcast. And I am very excited for this opportunity with Jason, who has been in hospitality for a long time and had a very successful career, and we're going to talk a lot about one of his brands. But Jason, just if you wouldn't mind, introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Jason Ingermanson, President and CEO of JRI Hospitality and President of Mokas Coffee Eatery. And we have multiple other concepts that we operate. We're also the largest Freddy's franchisee in the United States. So lots going on in the hospitality world, clear to the point of owning and operating our hometown Salina Country Club. So plenty of experience, like you said, and a lot of years in the industry. Lots of fun.
All right, man. Well, as I told you, I don't come with a list of questions other than the one thing I ask everybody is, when and why did you first get started in hospitality, which has been what a great long journey you've had. But what got it started?
Well, I'll try and be as brief as possible. I've never been accused of that when explaining some things. But growing up on a small farm in Kansas, I was taught hospitality at a young age about neighborly hospitality, how you treat people. My parents and grandmother made sure that I was very good at that and understood what that meant, the reason why, and how important it was. And so, growing up, small town, lots of time working on the farm, working in a small community. And really was big into basketball and looking to be a professional basketball coach and get into sports medicine and work my way from there. But while going to college on a basketball scholarship, I stumbled across the fact that growing up on a small farm, I'm going to need a job to help pay for some of that stuff. And so I started working at Burger King it would have been 18, right out of high school. And man, I just found out that when you're thinking about coaching and leading young people and trying to create the environment for them to have an opportunity, man, there may be a shot here to do so much more impactful things with young people in the hospitality industry, versus maybe a minimal amount of folks and young folks that I could teach and coach in the basketball world. So I had some things to consider as I found myself excited about being in the hospitality world, fast food, obviously, to begin with, and then rolled into some full service experience as time went in and kind of played multiple roles in multiple different departments along the way. And one day said, I'm doing all these things because one day I want to be a franchisee of something. One day I want to be a franchisor of something, and all within the opportunity to connect with people, to be a leader in our community and give back and connect with our communities that we serve, and also to create, but most importantly, to create opportunities for folks that are on our team, right? Develop them, give them the tool that they need to be successful. And when the day comes, they can continue to grow in our organization, or they may choose to do what I did and said, hey, I want to go do something on my own. And instead of restricting that, I said, how about we embrace that instead of taking their talents and taking their dreams and trying to always morph them into what we're doing. When they get to that point, how can I be a very good mentor for them give them some experiences that I had in order to do what I'm doing and create the environment for them to do something like that. Empower them, embrace them. And of course, when you got great people that leave to do those things, if it doesn't work out for them, even after you've mentored and helped them, well, by golly, we got a seat right here for you back when you're ready because of the things that you bring to the table and the successes that you may have helped us achieve along the way. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. First business I got into was coffee. When I went out on my own, borrowed $30,000 from my grandparents, so I helped on the small farm. They took a risk on me. That was a lot of money for my grandparents on a small farm, and paid them back within a year and bought a 400 square foot coffee shop in the Salina, Kansas mall. And that's where it all started. And fast forward to where we're at today with a lot of luck, a lot of good partners, a lot of good people on the team, and a very supportive family in order for that to occur. So hope I kept it short enough for you, but
Well,
that's it in a nutshell.
you did a you did a great job of summarizing decades, and we're going to dive into some of this. You know, one of the things you said, which for me, I'm a bet on the jockey kind of person. And your philosophy is why I would always bet on you. And I know it's why you've been very successful because you are developing people, investing a lot into helping them learn and grow and develop skills. And you have a very large organization. There's a lot of opportunities in that organization. So that's a wonderful path. But you're also supporting people that decide, I want to do my own thing because you understand that. That, my friend, is something that I've found the best leaders in this industry. That is a common thread. I've talked to enough people. I've done over 600 episodes, and the best of the best have that mentality of we want to provide people opportunities, want to grow so that they can grow with us. But if they go start their own thing, we are the first customer the day they open, and they are to support them 100%. And in addition to that, if it doesn't work out, we got your back. That kind of support means I'm going to guess that you have um, much lower turnover than the industry average and very high employee satisfaction. Is just I've got to imagine that's the case. I admire that philosophy very much.
Yeah, we want to create owners within our own business. And if they want to go be an owner on their own, there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, if it doesn't work out for you, come back here because we'd love to have you back. There's, too many times I've seen folks wanting to restrict that opportunity because business owners become selfish and they want to keep this talent for themselves. Let me tell you, the best turnover in the world is one of my team coming to me and saying, hey, I want to go start my own business. And can you give me some advice? Can you give me some insight? Can I call you if I have questions, etc.? I mean, there's no better day than when that occurs. And so that's just been something that I think is, yeah, like you said, has helped us become very successful. And we have the right retention and we have the right turnover in order for, our team to be most successful and our guests to receive the best experience that they can when they walk in the door.
So you've got a lot of concepts at JRI Hospitality, and we'll focus on Mokas. But how many different concepts do y'all have, and how many employees do y'all have within the hospitality group?
So our core concepts are, Mokas Coffee and Eatery. Obviously, Freddy's Frozen Custard is our largest concept right now. Salina Country Club and a lot of community things that we do to support our community. And then Chompie's Deli, which is a 45-year-old deli in the Valley in Arizona. Um, and we have a couple other concepts, small concepts that are startups right now. We have right under 3,100 employees across the country, and we operate in 15 states. We have 3 office locations right now, one in Scottsdale, Arizona, one in Salina, Kansas, and one in Wichita, Kansas.
3,100 employees, 31 people with jobs in your organization, man. Well done. That's phenomenal. What a great story. What a great growth business. So you started in this mall, I love that, man. 30 grand from the grandparents, probably didn't have 30 grand that they could just toss around.
Nah.
You paid them back in a year. That's impressive. So talk about when you first got started there and just, how you were able to do that and what was, um, what it was like hanging your shingle out there for the first time as a young man and having that, that personal debt to grandparents on the line. I sure that it probably gave you, and not that you didn't have great work ethic. I can tell that you did, but it probably gave you even extra impetus to really bust it.
Yeah, it's funny as a young entrepreneur, you listen, you read a lot of books, read a lot of articles on how to become a business owner and all those types of things, and they're always talking about replacing yourself and duplicating and all of those things. But when your first business was a $30,000 investment, 30,000 that I didn't have at the time, obviously. And then all my focus was get that paid back to my grandparents as soon as possible and learn, right? You can take all the classes that you want. The best learning is doing it and understanding it. And you find out really quick that these high level books that you read don't relate to your first business in a 400 square foot coffee shop in the mall. So it was a lot of me understanding the business first. I'm really big on understanding the nuts and bolts and how everything works in a business, because at some point in time, when you do elevate up to be the leader of other people and you have to make decisions when you're not in that business every day, man, you really need to understand what they're dealing with at that store level so that you don't accidentally make a bad decision because of the disconnect. So I'm really big on understanding the nuts and bolts initially and making sure that I understand them along the way and not get, pulled away from one thing too much when we expand into other concepts and such. So just, lots of hard work, lots of focus. And the first focus was really, I'm going to go figure this out. I'm going to do the best job I can. I'm going to try a whole lot of things, but most importantly, I'm going to make sure that that money goes back to my family who, that was one of two quarters of land that they spent their whole lifetime of buying, working hard and paying for that they used for collateral for that loan. So very important to me to get that taken care of. So it was definitely a learning experience. And, you know, my basketball coach in high school had a very good saying. He says, the first time something bad happens to you, or the first time you have a turnover or miss a rebound or miss a defensive assignment, you're a victim. He said, the second time you do that, you're a volunteer. And so I've used that philosophy to teach people for so long that, hey, we're going to make mistakes. We're going to, have bad days. Let's learn from them and not do that again. And let's also learn from them and help others to not have to do that to begin with. So that was kind of my approach from day one was, learn what I don't know. And when I make a mistake, man, don't do it again. I don't want to be a volunteer. I don't want to be running suicides with my basketball coach tomorrow.
My grandfather used to say the best wit bought wit, and that's always stuck with me. So you get this place open. You're working hard. You had, a plan. It's like Mike Tyson says, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. I'm sure there were some metaphorical punches to the mouth. Were there times when you were like, oh no, what have I done? Or did you know that you were doing what you wanted to do and you were going to figure it out? And
Yeah,
I
I was 20. Oh, go ahead.
ask that question because I think a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs have this idea of what their business is going to be like, especially in hospitality. And then they get into it and they're like, oh my gosh, this is way more challenging than I could have imagined. Which is why there's whatever the failure rate is. I don't know what the actual failure rate is, but there are a lot of hospitality businesses that don't make it through the first year. And a lot of that's just because the reality is so different than the pro- proposed reality in your head.
Yeah, I was 26 years old. So I guess the best description is I didn't know what I didn't know.
Mm.
I've been in the industry for 8 years since I was 18, like I had said when I first started going to college. And it was a learning experience, but I don't think one day I ever woke up and regretted it. I woke up a lot of days saying, okay, how am I going to figure this out now? But I'm telling you, the minute you start regretting or the minute you start guessing, you just gave up in a way mentally. And that's not something that I've ever been a part of. When something approaches me as an obstacle, my first approach is, okay, what is it? How did it happen? Why did it happen? And what are the alternatives or what are the options that I can do to handle this appropriately in order to move forward? But I've never went and hung my head and said, man, I don't know if I can do this." And I think I learned enough day to day in operations with the other organizations that I worked with in the hospitality industry that I knew what I was getting into. There are a lot of folks that get into the hospitality industry, right out of college or, right out of high school or whatever it might be without that experience. And, like I always say, experience isn't something you can write a check for. You either have it or you don't. And my encouragement to anyone that I mentor that may still be in high school or even in college is go get that experience and go understand what it really is, because you may have a vision, just like you said, of what you anticipate something to be, or more importantly, as a human, what you want it to be. And then when you go dive in head first and deploy capital and maybe everything that you have to your name and maybe some of to your family's name, and you better understand what you're getting into before you do that, or it's just not going to turn out very well.
And when you do, that mentality that you just addressed is very important, which is you're going to have a lot of challenges that are unplanned that come up. There's just no doubt about it. The real question is, what's your mindset regarding those challenges and how do you deal with them?
I was just thinking about that exact question of mindset. And at the beginning of every meeting, one of the things that I like to do is I like to go around the table and really get people comfortable to talk about what are the challenges, what are the obstacles. Don't be afraid to bring anything up. But number one, there's two mindset options that we can have every day when we get approached with situations, right? You're either going to approach it on how can we, or we're going to sit around and talk about why we can't. And
Mm,
sitting around talking about why we can't isn't going to get us anywhere. That's just going to be a big old bucket full of excuses and the reasons why we can't do something. But when you change your mindset to how can we do something, it's amazing what happens in that room of leaders when they start thinking that mindset around everything that's approaching us. So getting people's mindsets going into things, whatever it is, good, bad, and different, it's very important to make sure that we're in the how can we mode and we don't ever get into the why we can't mode. That's, everybody around that table is empowered to stop whoever's in the why we can't mode. Um, Now, there's obviously obstacles that come up when we're in the how can we mindset, but those are obstacles that are relevant to where we're going. Why we can't is just giving up. And that's not something that I'm ever going to be associated with.
I love that. There's a book that we actually mentioned in the last episode I did, and maybe others. It's called The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. And just a great book that I've read a couple of times about, I mean, the title says it. The obstacle is the way. Like you go through the obstacle. You don't look at it and say we can't get through it or we need to try to find a way to go around it. You go through it, and that's that. How can we mentality? So, well, I know we really want to celebrate the fact that Mokas is at 20-year anniversary. Is that right? As of November of 2025.
Absolutely. Celebrate 20 years. Uh, in 2026 here, we'll have our first franchisee open. And the excitement about the franchising business of Mokas Coffee and Eatery is I get to empower and help young franchisees potentially start their first business and give them an opportunity, be very focused on their support and their success, very similar to how I got my opportunity to really thrive in becoming an early franchisee of Freddy's. So what I learned there and being able to uh, transfer that knowledge over to a young franchisee in Mokas Coffee and Eatery, that's the biggest celebration of 20 years is the connection we have with our guests, the connection that we intend to have with all of our future franchisees. And it's just that point in time when you realize, hey, we're at a special place. And how are we going to approach that? And what are we going to do to maximize the opportunity? So that's what we're really celebrating around the 20 years is 20 years of impacting the community and giving back, 20 years of connecting with our guests and growing our customer base, and 20 years of empowering our team to have opportunities. And man, I'm excited about a few of our Mocha's restaurant operating partners that have been with us for several years now, potentially becoming franchisees. That would just be, that would be such a great feeling for both us and them. So that's kind of where we're at. Definitely a celebration of longevity, but more importantly, what that longevity means and how it's all kind of come together.
How many locations of Mokas do y'all have?
So we have 4 locations currently with a 5th one under development, and then we have our first franchisee that'll be breaking ground anytime in the next 30 to 45 days in, Olathe, Kansas.
Okay. After 20 years, what made you decide to start franchising versus just growing your corporate locations?
Absolutely. Well, obviously, kind of a little bit going back on the timeline. First business was coffee in the mall. As I said, we expanded that a bit and then got the opportunity through some acquaintances to become a Freddy's franchisee. So we opened up the first Freddy's in our organization in 2009, and it was store number 17 of all Freddy's that existed at that point in time. Freddy's was a concept that I was very excited about, very passionate about. I still am today. And the with not having a whole lot of capital to put into our business at that point in time, Freddy's was the best place to put it. They were ready to grow, and I was ready to seize the moment and say, "Hey, this is an opportunity. Let's put all of our resources into that growth." So Mocha's kind of, you know, from a growth standpoint, kind of stalled at those, 2 original locations we had back then. In 2020, because of the success we'd had in Freddy's and with other concepts, in 2020, actually, we started construction in the middle of 2019. We were able to build our prototype location for Mocha's. The vision that we'd had for 15 years in our head finally went to paper, into architectural plans, design plans, and we broke ground right next to our former drive-through Mocha's in Salina, Kansas. And it opened up, and we had a lot of success. And our vision at that point in time was to get that prototype launched, open a couple more in a bigger market like Wichita, Kansas, which we have, and also then start creating that opportunity for franchising. And the whole intent behind franchising was to create an opportunity for other entrepreneurs like what I had. I mean, that's kind of my piece with that. Mocha's logo is an upside down is 2 upside down coffee cups that make an M, but there's also 2 ears of 2 heads in conversation. It's all about connection. And so when I thought about that connection over all of those years of growing Mocha's and kind of had that dream, right? The thing that you always have to have is, what am I going to do next and why am I going to do it? And the why for me is always important. That's why you always get a lot of long answers from me, is because it's all about the reason why.
Yeah.
Never ask someone to do anything. Never ask for someone to buy into your dream at all costs without being able to explain a good reason why behind that. So it's always been about connection with our guests, connection with our team, and now being able to connect communities by franchising Mocha's out and creating opportunities for young franchisees, current franchisees that may be in other segments of business that want to be a franchisee, all those different things. So it's all about connection for me, and the excitement of giving my experience and giving the experience that I've had and the success and some luck along the way and all those things to other folks through Mocha's to be successful. And that's the whole drive behind franchising. We could just open them all ourselves. But the give back to helping others to be successful that's the mission here. That's the whole, that's everything behind it for me.
Yeah, I mean, this is your why. This is what you got into this for in the first place, and you've stuck with that all this time. And that's a very clear focus of yours. When you uh, talk to potential franchisees, what are the important qualities and characteristics that they need to have? I mean, you've been a franchisee, you understand it. What are you looking for?
Well, first off, I want them to be excited about their experience they've had at Mocha's. I want them to be well educated on who we are and what our vision is and what makes us successful to make sure that those values align, make sure that the return on investment is the same for all of us,
Mm.
right? Um, and then, of course, the hunger of the excitement that I see in their eyes about what they love about mochas, why mochas, and then also one of the things that I'm excited about in once we found that franchisee that connects correctly is that because of all the other concepts we had, because of the experience we've had operating more than 100 restaurants now in 15 states, yeah, there's 4 mochas right now, but the value that comes with those 4 mochas and the systems that we have in place and the
Mm.
team to support a new franchisee versus another potential startup in that same segment, we bring a lot to the table that a lot of other startup franchisees don't because of all of those things. And I'm the first one to share my book of secrets, right? It's
Yeah.
nothing should be a secret if your ultimate goal is success for everyone involved. I mean, I wanna tell them everything that worked, and I wanna tell them everything to avoid at all costs because it didn't work, and by golly, even after you do both of those things, they're still gonna do something different on their own because that's human, and the best human I can be is to be sitting there waiting for those mistakes or challenges or opportunities to occur and be there to help them through that, so
Tell us about Mokas.
well, Mocha started just a coffee only concept in the early 2000s. There's a lot of, we'll just saw community coffee places popping up at that point in time. And there still is a lot today, right? There's a lot of passion. There's a lot of connection. There's a lot of excitement about sitting down with a friend in a wonderful environment, connecting over coffee, right? And so coffee, as you know, in the coffee industry has transitioned so much from just coffee. At that point in time, Starbucks was just kind of starting to ramp up really big in the Midwest. And so there wasn't a whole lot of folks in the Midwest that understood the difference between what, a real latte was and what a cappuccino at the convenience store was. That's just because there wasn't enough specialty coffee in the Midwest for folks to know. So it was an exciting time to start in that business. And now I don't even call it a coffee business. I call it a beverage business because it's went from, hot lattes and hot coffee to frozen drinks was one of the first things in the mid 2000s to late 2000s that came about. Iced coffee, and then it got into energy drinks, smoothies, all of these different exciting beverage categories. So today, Mocha's is a beverage concept that specializes in coffee. We roast our own coffee in our roastery, in our organization, and deliver that to our future franchisees as well as our stores because we believe the quality of coffee that we provide and keeping that under our fingertip of quality is very important for everyone. And then, of course, in 2020, when we launched our prototype, it was also about we focused on the beverage industry and the coffee industry to focus the best intentions that we possibly can to be the best at it each and every day. Now let's do that same thing with food. And let's
Mm.
really be a differentiator out in the marketplace because not only are we looking for connection in our dining rooms and our drive-throughs with our guests and our team, but we're also looking to be the best at what we have to offer. So if you're not a coffee or a beverage person out looking for that energy drink or smoothie or coffee, man, come in and we're going to knock your socks off with a great sandwich or soup or salad or what have you in regards to our restaurant food. So we hone in each and every day to be the best in each category. So a lot of folks out there doing coffee and oh, by the way, we have food, and a lot of people out there doing food and oh, by the way, we have coffee. There's very few concepts that are connecting those two together with the same passion and the same focus for excellence that Mocha's does. So I would say that's our differentiating point.
Mm. Um, I'm sitting here finishing this, I think, fourth cup of coffee. So I wish you had one out here, and I look forward to it when you're out here in North Carolina. Always looking for a good cup of coffee, and having some great food to go along with that is certainly a nice addition. Tell me about the world of coffee right now, and I'm asking this very broadly, but there's a couple of things that um, seem to be happening. One is it seems like coffee prices have gone up a whole lot. And the other is that I am seeing a lot of brands that are in this space. A lot of them are the drive-through, but it's like the coffee slash energy drink space. Um, I'm just interested in where we are now in the industry and where it's heading. And as a consumer, I love going and getting a cup of coffee at a coffee shop. There's nothing better than being in a great coffee shop where the people that serve you your coffee are friendly, and there's, normally when people are having coffee, they're in a pretty good mood. It's an easy place to talk to people and all that. Um, I've heard Starbucks has, had some challenges, and I'm just curious. This is a very broad question, but just talk about some of what I just addressed, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, there is some increases in costs because there's been increases in cost amongst a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
Coffee can be very volatile because it's a commodity.
Yep.
Tariffs impact the price of coffee. The threat of tariffs impact that. There's a lot of things going on in the world that can quickly impact it, not short of just Mother Nature herself in regards to droughts. um, you lose a coffee, you lose a coffee growing area. Takes 7 years for those to be replanted and start producing coffee again. And then sometimes the regions, just from a climate standpoint, have shifted. Climate has shifted, and that's caused volatile pricing in the coffee industry as well. As you say, outside of just the cost of coffee and the things that impact, the coffee beans themselves, other costs have increased, from paper to plastic to all the different things that we serve those beverages in. And then, like you said, there's a lot more players in that industry, right? So, Starbucks has cannibalized themselves in a lot of regions.
Mm.
And maybe that works when you're the only player, but when you start getting competitors in there, then it's going to make you rethink and maybe make you relook at some things. But the interesting thing is overall the industry has grown, right? It hasn't been a whole bunch of people came in, a bunch of people left. I mean, it's climbing. And I think that that's for a lot of reasons. The more we continue to disconnect from connection and humans to technology or AI and all of those things that are occurring, people are searching for places they can go where that's
Yep.
not there. I mean, you showed me your flip phone, and that's the first place I went to. I mean, there's probably multiple reasons you use that. Maybe it's not the same way I'm thinking, but man, there's a lot of things that distract you. And I believe that when you walk into Mocha's, that's so focused on connection, what you're doing is you're putting folks in an environment like they're going back to grandma's house. It's a comfortable environment. It's a friendly environment. It feels like home. You're usually having a business meeting that means something to you, hopefully in a positive way. You're having a connection meeting with a friend over a beverage or a food item that you love. You're connecting in that way. And so we like having drive-throughs in our business, and we move a lot of our guests through drive-through, but we're probably never going away from having a dining room, a grandma's house that you can walk through a portal and have this experience of just everything else shuts off except for the connection, the engagement, that conversation that you're having with the person in there. And our objective is to eliminate any distractions that would take you away from that experience, right? I don't want a food quality issue. I don't want a wrong order. I don't want a coffee that doesn't taste the way it's supposed to be. We are there to accent your portal into grandma's house to have this great connection with whoever you're there for whatever reason you're there for. And that's the model, and that's the vision that we share with each one of our team members each and every day in order to create that for our guests. So lots going on out there, like you've talked about. I believe that we have a approach that's different. And our job each and every day is to make sure that we don't get away from that those are our main focuses each and every day for our guests. And it's all about that connection, and it's all about that opportunity for that connection to happen for our guests, but also the opportunity for growth to happen for our team members and our potential franchisees. So, few things to answer your question in regards to what's happening out there in the coffee world, and then kind of compare it to why we think we may be a little bit different than what you're seeing with all the other new concepts popping up.
Again, I'd bet on that because we've become so disconnected because of these devices and these screens, and we spend so much time on them. But that pendulum went far in one direction, and it's coming back. People are realizing that. Even my kids are 21, 19, and 16, and even they know. Like, I mean, they watch Stranger Things. They're like, "Gosh, looks like the '80s was cool. Why does it look like it was cool?" Well, because everybody's outside riding their bikes around and adventurous all the time. Like, yeah, because we didn't have all these, these screens that we were glued to all the time. And so there's a natural, innate desire to have that human connection, and the screens get in the way of that. And people are starting to realize that. I have this flip phone, because 5 years ago, I felt like I was on my phone way more than I wanted to be, certainly than I needed to be. But it does have as somebody who likes coffee, it gives you a dopamine hit, right? Like, so every time you scroll or answer these little bits of dopamine. And I realized that I didn't have the discipline to not, to put it away and not use it. Therefore, I felt like, just as maybe an alcoholic who wants to stop drinking shouldn't have a fully stocked bar within arm's reach all the time, maybe I should not have this phone. Let me just try this flip phone thing. I got to tell you, I mean, it has some drawbacks, but it's been pretty awesome. It just eliminates so much. And so, but it's coming, that kind of thing is coming back around. I mean, I got featured in a USA Today article about people with flip phones a year or two ago. Like, so, but it's not the flip phone thing. It's more the people are realizing there's some balance where you need enough connection, but not being overwhelmed with it. And so that translates very well into a concept like yours, where people do know and need, they know they want to go somewhere where they can just have that. As I love the grandma's house analogy, just that human connection, business meeting a friend, celebrating something, mourning a loss, but just somewhere I can go and just be connected with people. And what that leads me to believe is that you're very intentional and very thoughtful about who you hire, because the people that represent that brand and the experience that they provide is so critical. It's why I go to the coffee shop that I go to in my little town of Waxhaw every day, because I know that when I go in there, they're they treat me really well. They know me. They talk to me. They ask about how my day is. And that's such a great start to getting that coffee and then sitting down. And then I might sit there and work, but I just feel like I'm in a place where I'm, welcomed, and, where I'm important.
Yeah, it's so important. And there's just little indicators that are, they can't be silenced in regards to the human search for um, who they are, what they're looking for, right? Humans are always looking for something. Sometimes they don't realize in their mind that they are searching for something constantly. It's a human nature thing. And 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 when they find these things that they may not even be able to verbally articulate, like walking in the Mokas and just being in a place where they're just like, I'm myself, I'm comfortable, this is me. I mean, there's more and more people looking for those types of places all the time, and we're trying to be that for a lot of folks for the right reasons, not just so our business thrives. It's a lot more than that. It's about when your business thrives because you're doing the right things for people and you're providing what people are looking for and you're wowing them. What can you do with the resources that come of that and a well balanced approach to give back out, right? Create more of these spaces for people, create more connection with our communities and give back. Do great things in the community that you're serving because you're saying thank you for allowing us to be your connection spot. And so there's just so many things. I always walk through a restaurant when folks are working and watching them and observing them. And sometimes you wonder, and you have we connected with the person that's in the kitchen right now, creating that great breakfast sandwich on the all day breakfast, which is a fun thing that we do at Mokas. But do they understand that when they're putting that sandwich together, that they're doing more than just that? I mean, that's just one step in helping the teammate next to them have a good day, to be able to deliver that to our guests at the drive-through window or the front counter in the lobby where we take it out to them to the table and see the smile on their face. We're creating a good day for that guest and what they're receiving. And then that equals opportunity for us and for them. And sometimes I think folks go to work thinking, yeah, I work in the kitchen at, a restaurant. And if the leaders have done their job appropriately, they understand that it's so much more than that, and they impact so many things when what that execution of that one, what they may think is a menial task, really means to a community, to an organization, to the person next to them, giving them an opportunity to someday be a franchisee of Mokas or of another concept. So it's always empowering people and also making sure they understand what they're doing and what it really means. It's so much more than just that one little 4x4 square that they're, making breakfast sandwiches in all day. So I think it's so important to have those conversations with your people so that they understand that you're doing a lot. You're doing things that help feed folks that can't feed themselves in the community and the way that we give back. And you're helping someone have a great day because we did this task to the best of our ability consistently over and over and over again.
You know, I think about your basketball background and the idea of coaching people and helping draw the best out of people. There's people that can play well. There's people that can coach well. Some can do both. I always think about Larry Bird, who was this phenomenal player, and he tried to coach. He's like, I can't do this. Like, I don't understand why these people don't like intuitively know these things that I knew that like came naturally. And so you have a really good player coach balance. And I would imagine that you bring on leadership that has that mentality. Well, because to get somebody that's making a breakfast sandwich in the kitchen to care about that process and what it means, especially in today's culture and with the workforce we have now, I'm going to guess is it's not easy. It takes a really good, thoughtful, intentional leader to accomplish that and to do that across your footprint at scale.
Yeah, and you talked about Larry Bird, and I think the challenge is that how many people can you get your feelings across to in a way that impacts them to perform differently than they may not have otherwise, right? And so that's the challenge we have when we talk about 3 offices across the United States, 15 states that we're operating in. Anybody that's worked directly beside me will absolutely not even question any of the things that we've talked about today, right? You
Yes.
get clear across the country in an area where I'm not directly impacting, but our team is, right? That's why what you mentioned earlier about, what we call, I have a JRI high five, which I put together, and I won't go into the details of it. But number one is how do we hire? Who do we hire? How do we hire the right person? And how do we make sure that the right people are in the right place?
Mm,
The other 4 things don't matter until we can check that off.
mm,
And what that means is you found folks that when you spend time to develop them, they're going out and they're going to push the beliefs that you believe in because they think that that's where I want to be, that's where I want to work. It's not changing what they believe. It's finding folks that are aligned, finding folks that have an excitement and a passion like you do, and being willing to understand, hey, this model works. If I want to be successful, let me take that out and let me go have these conversations that Jason's having with me. Or let me have these conversations with my team because that's what we've talked about is sharing our knowledge and our experiences to make other people better. Let me make sure I'm having those conversations with the person making the breakfast sandwich or smashing the steak burger on the grill or whatever it may be. Because I think that that's the number one most important thing is people to understand their value, their worth, and the impacts they're making to others when it's not in the training guide of that station that they're working at today. You know what I mean? Like I always say, training is technical. Development is understanding what that technical training brings to the business, brings to the potential of your career, the people around you, and what it brings to the guest and what they receive from your business. A quality product, a genuine smile, a clean establishment, a great day, right? All of those things. And that's
Yeah.
so important. And sometimes we get caught up so much into checking the box of things. Hey, I need to do these things today. Let me go get all those down. And how many people did we walk by doing something right? We didn't say, hey, good job. And how many people did we walk by today that may have needed a little coaching and they weren't doing it right? Probably not intentionally, but because they need a little coaching. And we walked by it because we weren't present in the moment and we said what they just did, even though it was negative, was okay. You can't walk by things that are broken because you're just saying, that's all right. I believe in that. And you can't walk by things that are exceptional and not say, good job.
Mm.
And those are the two things that when I'm walking to a restaurant, I'm always focused on. So I need to correct something really quick to give them some additional information, some additional development. I can't walk by something that's being done wrong because I just said it's okay. And I definitely can't walk by something that's being done exceptionally well because you need to reinforce those types of things. And other, not only for the person doing it well, but everybody else around that hears that praise. Man, humans want praise. So
Mm.
it's going to naturally improve everybody's day by doing that. The person that was doing it well gets to hear good job, and the people around get to understand, wow, when I do things well, I get recognized too. Because look what just happened there. So
People do love praise. They love validation. They love to feel that they matter, even if you're constructively, helping them when they've made a mistake. So you have it's funny because you mentioned earlier, hopefully I'll be concise about this or whatever. You have such a clear head and thought process and articulate it so well. Do you, you probably don't have time for this, Jason, but do you speak at industry events or anything like that?
can
I would love to watch you speak if I were a, growing restaurateur or aspiring restaurateur or, young franchisee.
Yeah, occasionally I'm on panels and such. I really focus on trying to spend my time impacting who's on my team.
Yeah.
I've seen so many leaders that spend a lot of time going out talking to others and they don't do that same with their team. And because we're growing so much and because we're so focused on those types of things, if I've got any time to go, speak in an impactful way, I want it to be our team first. But at the same time, there are opportunities where I go out on a panel or I go to a conference or I've been asked to speak. I just make sure that I run it through a filter before I decide whether that's the best use of my time. And am I shortchanging someone on my team because I took that time out to do that for my
Yeah.
own benefit? And so, I try to run a lot of things through filters to make sure that the right decisions are being made. And those filters I start with is the JRI High Five that I talked about earlier, but then also our core values. And, we have our core values posted. We talk about them as a team. And we talk about those a lot, probably at the beginning of every meeting. We probably talk a little bit about it at the end of each meeting. Those things are so important in any decision you make each and every day. You better be running the filter through the things that you're telling your team are the most important things to our organization. So I
What
try to be very intentional on those things.
What are your core values?
Teamwork, exceptional hospitality, accountability, and mindful communication. Um, and obviously that if you remember the word team, you're going to remember our core values, and teamwork that, just working together to accomplish something and understanding how well that feels, but also in teamwork, understanding when you have a failure, it's everybody's failure. When you have a success, it's everybody's success. What did we learn from that, right? Exceptional hospitality, that goes to our guests, but also how do we treat our folks internally in our organization with that? Right? Accountability. we're all accountable to these things that we believe in and the things we talk about. And then, of course, mindful communication is thinking about before we communicate sometimes to be sure that we're approaching it the right way. There's a lot of things that can happen each and every day that can keep piling up, and someone gets the burnt end of that, as I say. You know,
Mm,
they they
yes.
happen to bring something up at the end of the day after it's just been a day. And we're all humans, right? And so they get the burnt end of that. So that mindful communication is so important to the other three core values because whatever it is that's going on, good, bad, or indifferent, how do we communicate that? And have we thought about that? And is it about today? And what does that communication today mean moving forward for everyone and how it was approached?
You've got franchisees. You and tell me about. So you've got one for or a
We've
multi-unit
got
franchisee.
we've got our first franchisee that signed up for 6 units, and their first location will open this year.
Where is it going to be?
Olathe, Kansas.
Okay, so
So up
okay.
in the Kansas City area. Mhm.
Are you looking uh, or at franchisees that have already had franchise experience? Is that a pre prerequisite? It seems like sometimes that's the case.
Mm.
But then
Not necessarily.
I was going to say, because you have a lot of coaching and mentoring and helping people grow, maybe then it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody that's, hey, they've already had four different concepts and they have a good set because you want them to grow and learn your system. You've already got great systems in place. That is a big advantage with a small concept like yours. That's a huge selling point, I would think.
Yeah, and we welcome the multi-unit franchisees that have other franchising experience. Of course, we welcome them to have interest in Mokas. I'm most excited about the ones that I can help mentor and develop that maybe haven't had the experience. But that's just because that's who I am and that's my focus on people in general. So naturally, that's what's going to be most exciting to me. But I'm also excited about the experienced franchisees that I can still learn things from. There's folks out there that are bigger than our organization that may want to be a Mocha's franchisee. Yeah, I'm I'm still ready to learn each and every day from others. I don't know it all. I don't want to pretend like I know it all. I just want to keep getting better. That's what it's all about. Keep getting better for myself and for the people that I can make an impact on.
Yeah, you've got a growth mindset. Have you ever read that book, Mindset by Carol Dweck?
Yes.
Yeah, I figured you had. Do you do a lot of reading?
Um, I do to the best of my ability. I would say that I do a lot of audiobooks and things like if I'm traveling or whatever. Um, I'm very focused on what I read to the standpoint that there's a lot of books out there that are great books, right? But they're all saying the same thing in a different way. When you read leadership books, there may be a little bit different word, but it's still the same meaning. And so, once again, just like I run things through a filter on am I out speaking to others when I could be speaking to my team, I'm also very focused on, I would say I research and read on things that have a need for more than reading to get myself motivated because that's just not a problem. And so, um, I love people that read. It's not saying don't. I'm just saying that time is one thing you can't write a check for. And man, just make sure that you understand what your time element should be and where it should be spent. So I do read, I do listen to podcasts, I do a lot of those things, but I would say more on a focus of what I need more than just to do it because it's good for motivational, right? A lot of people read books because it gets them excited, gets them thinking differently, gets them motivated. That's just not something I've had a big challenge with. So I probably don't do it for that regard. I do it more for knowledge, learning, and trying to get better.
What are you trying to get better at right now?
Um, I'm trying to get better to continually identify um, how to impact people the best way possible and continue to understand what questions I should be asking in order to get to understand how people think a little bit better in our organization because I want to align with the high values and the high performance indicators that they have, right? So I want to learn more about my people. That's where I want to learn is continue to learn about people, learn about our guests. What do they want? Not just what I think they want. So it's all wrapped around understanding folks on our team more, understanding what our franchisees need and want, and understanding what our guest wants, and kind of just, man, making sure to take the time to step back and look around at what's going on and try and pull yourself. I always say, visualize yourself hovering above your body, looking at things in a different perspective. So always trying to get my mind to focus on looking at things in a different perspective, because we're sucked into things that we do each and every day, even when we try not to be. And so
Mm.
you have to be very intentional and very focused on trying to pull yourself away from that and look at things at different perspectives and come away with a different point of view and challenge yourself to do that. In other words, when you put yourself in that position to do that and to visualize, intentionally take yourself away from what you do each and every day and completely make sure you look at it in a different perspective from your guests, from an investor standpoint, from what's going on in the world standpoint, to what are people looking for? Where is the world going in regards to technology, leadership, communication, connection? Where are all of those things going, and how can I look at that to the best of my ability to be better and learn?
Mhm. Yes. Do you read any books on behavioral psychology and understanding, like, fallacies and, biases that are, very common?
Yeah, you have to be aware of that. I don't know if I've read a lot of books on it, but when you start engaging with people deeply that are on your team and get connected and they feel comfortable in your environment, that they can say whatever that they want to say, you start learning of those things. And then I probably start researching a little bit more in regards to that. We're also very driven on using the Clifton Strengths as a DNA to understanding who our people are. That's a personality profile approach to understanding what strengths, weaknesses, focuses. And when I say weaknesses, not like a weakness that they intentionally have, but just like humans have DNA, leadership has DNA, and Clifton Strengths has done a really good job of helping us put all of that together and build good teams around the personality profiles and the leadership profiles of everyone in that particular location or region or in our organization as a whole. We got to find others that aren't like us. Like,
Yeah.
they have the same drive and the same focus as to be successful, but they bring different elements or leadership DNA to the table. And we're trying to be a really, good leadership group for our young folks. And so we're responsible to do everything that we can in order to accomplish that.
What is the what is the goal with, um, the business over the next? You've got your first franchisee. Where do you think you'll be in 5, 10 years? Do you have a plan for that, or you just Oh, and actually, before I even ask that question, this is something I'm always fascinated with. So you've got a franchisee with 6 units there in Kansas, which is where you are. Do you expand this concentrically out, or do you, if you had a great franchisee with interest in North Carolina, for instance, would you entertain that, or do you not have the brand recognition yet here that you need, and you try to grow it more regionally? I'm always curious about that.
We're trying to grow this regionally and organically. The coffee business is a little unique, the beverage business, especially when we're roasting our own coffee and we're focused on, quality and also the hospitality side of what we can give and how fast can we grow and what's the best return on investment of our time. Being in the airplane flying across the country to a one-off location, no matter who it is that's doing it, is just not the best from what I see. If you go to our franchising page, mokasfranchise.com, and take a look, you'll see the regions that we're growing in first. It's kind of the middle, to the south middle of the United States, all kind of wrapped around how we can best service our franchisee, not only from leadership development, growth, and training, but also with the right products and the right quality and consistency of products for them. And then we'll grow out from that. So I think that you win on a lot of levels by doing it that way. The franchisees definitely win. And then that brand recognition piece is naturally going to come along with that organic growth. So that's a huge win, because, I remember being the first franchisee of Freddy's that started in Wichita, Kansas. And I think at store 38, we went to Fairfax, Virginia. Now that's turned out to be a great store, but man, that was, no one knew who we were. No one knew who Freddy's was. And so we've done that with 7 states of the 15, no, 9 states of the 15 states we're in with Freddy's. We went to that state and opened the first location in that state, And the first potential look at that is how can we get on, where can we go and grow? That we feel is a great area for Freddy's, but that we can jump on the plane and there's a direct flight. So it
Mm.
was very interesting in looking at those types of things. So I learned a lot from that. Um, and so we're focused on regional growth first and expanding out from there. We won't, at all costs, we'll try to avoid jumping. Um, unless it's us probably doing that to create another distribution center, to create another potential future hub for franchisees after we've developed out the Midwest. We'll go take that risk for our franchisee versus the first franchisee in that area potentially taking it.
Do you move, generally speaking, do you move southwest, southeast, or does that matter? And I ask that because you move over there into Colorado, you're getting into high minimum wages. You go out to California, you're getting into all kinds of stuff. Like, do you deliberately try to grow where, and also you got the demographics, people are moving generally to the southeast. And so do you follow that?
Yeah, those are all the things that we use tools to kind of understand from, geographical things that are political focused, things that are wage focused. At the end of the day, we want to serve the best product to our guests for the value price. And when I say value, I don't mean cheap. I mean what they're paying for. They get more than what they would expect. That's the proposition we're looking for. And there are things that are out of our control that can impact that. And so when you're growing, I mean, the whole country is wide open if you look at it right now. There's no reason to, for a one-off to go do something that you don't need to. Like I always say, why open a seventh location in Wichita, Kansas when five is plenty, when you can go spend the same amount of dollars in Kansas City to open one or in Oklahoma to open one and start expanding that regional brand. Um, and so we're definitely looking at all of the things that you mentioned to be sure that our franchisees have the most opportunity for success.
Mm.
If we have an unsuccessful location, it's going to take, that's what I call distraction. Each and every day I wake up focused on what distractions can I remove today from what I have to accomplish, from what my team in the field has to accomplish, clear to the point that we can service our guests in the best way possible. A location that is not profitable because we made a bad decision up front is going to take 75% of our time. And it's going to only allow us 25% of our time to go focus on the great things that are happening or the good, successful franchises that are open. And so we want to avoid that at all costs for multiple reasons. So we can't do it just to do it. And when people say they're going to make financial decisions for brand recognition purposes, that is a red flag when you hear that because, oh, I'll go pay all that high rent because it's going to create some brand recognition for us. If the economics of the store level doesn't work, you're just going to put yourself in a position to fail for yourself and for your guests. And you're going to spend all your time right there and you're never going to move past that one big mistake. And when you do, it's going to be painful and it's going to slow down your goals and your visions for the future. So when we talk about where do we want to be in the next 3 years to 5 years, we just want to continue to grow and have the opportunity to help franchisees grow. I don't want to put a number on it. I want to
Yeah.
put a result on it so that when we have one or we open up another one of our own stores, that it's thriving and it's doing exactly what we set out to do. And it's meeting our core values and our focus on what we say that we want to do for our team, our guests, and our community. And so I want to grow to the extent that we can not move away from what our core values are and our reasons for who we are, being who we are in doing so. So I haven't put a number on it other than saying there's, we can do a lot because of the team that we have, but only to the extent that we're accomplishing what we're doing, what our objectives are.
Did you hear what, Peter Cancro, the Jersey Mike's guy?
Uh-huh.
Did you hear what he did yesterday?
I didn't.
The dude, he sold for $8 billion.
Mm-hmm.
He just signed on as a franchisee for 400 units over in Europe. He's going to open the first location in Europe soon. And he just said, my whole life has been this brand. I can't leave it. I still love it. And I thought that was so cool that, you know, it shows you because I'm bringing this up because I think it's very clear to me how much you love your business and the brands that you have. And that's the kind of immeasurable love and passion and care for a brand, its employees, and what that brand means and what it does for the community that is like, man, if you've got that, it is almost it's almost impossible to fail. I really think that you clearly make very disciplined, intentional, thoughtful decisions. You have a great perspective on the value of time and the utilization of that time and not letting distractions get in the way. And that is a very well honed skill that a lot of people miss because it's easy to get, especially now. Like, I mean, just we're distracted so much with so many things. So I really admire that. I think that this has been like I'm, I think it's smart that you don't go speak. And I admire that. And I'm glad you don't. I hope a lot of people will listen to this, Jason, because this has been like a master class at leadership, at focus, at intention, at discipline, at, um, coaching and training and investing into people. I mean, like, I cannot possibly thank you enough for this hour. I've learned a lot personally, and I know everybody that listens to this will too, but this is very, very meaningful and valuable content that you just gave this audience. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, thank you for the time. It's been great. That Jersey Mike story is so awesome. Just, someone that probably didn't need to sell, but when he did sell and he got all that money, where did he go put the biggest pile of it? Right back into what he believed in and what he, created the value in to begin with. Man, that's a good leader right there to say, "Hey, this is what I do. This is why I did it. This is what it meant to me, and I'm not gonna run from it now because I got this pile of money. I'm gonna go reallocate those funds and spread this love of what we do now, in another country." So, yeah, that kinda gave me goosebumps when you told me, when you told me that, and I think I did see an article pop up. I didn't take the time to read it yesterday in regards to that, but that's pretty awesome. So that would be me in the
Yes,
future. That
I,
that's
I'm
that's
sure
that's
it
how
would.
that's exactly what I would do, and, oh, by the way, I'd be rewarding a lot of folks that helped me get to that point and take them with me to go do that as a partner, right? So
Yep, absolutely. No, it gave me goosebumps when I read it. I was like, because I've always, I tried for the longest time. I was trying so hard to get him to come on this podcast, but I would never. I'm not haven't given up yet, but I do admire him a lot because similar. I mean, he bought that thing in high school. You know,
mhm.
borrowed money from his like football coach or whatever to do it, and clearly that laser focus and love for that brand is why that brand was so successful. It takes that. It really does. It takes a very disciplined, focused leader who cares beyond the numbers. The numbers always have to work, but it's more than that. And when you have that, you got something special. And if you can figure out how to scale that, you got something really special. And I think that you are, you're doing that across multiple brands. And I'm like super fired up to watch the growth of Mokas and see how this goes. And maybe in a year or so, we'll get back together and, do another episode and see where we are.
That was great. I'll look you up when I'm in North Carolina next.
Please do. I would love to hang out, man. I'd love to have
Sounds
a coffee with you.
sounds awesome.
All right, everybody, that is a wrap. Thank you for listening. Please go give us a rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you are. Give us that 5-star rating because that'll put this in front of more people. The algorithms love that. Jason, I'll ask you to do that too. Wherever you listen, go to Restaurant Owners Uncorked, and that's just going to put more of these episodes in front of more people. Y'all, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for spending your time today with Jason and me and having as I said, a masterclass conversation here. More episodes coming soon. Jason, thank you. Great to meet you. Look forward to staying in touch.
Thank you. Take care.